Obviously, the story. Get out the broom, Barber.
Yeah, that's bad. Nets got swept. Only team in this postseason so far this year to get swept with the Brooklyn Nets with the two of the biggest superstars in the entire NBA, and they get swept by the Boston Celtics. They even got Jason Tatum, who was having an unbelievable outing, to foul out of the game, and it still wasn't enough.
Yes.
It just tells you that this Brooklyn Nets team, BT, was flawed in ways that were some in their control, a lot of it not in their control. And, it comes down to depth. It comes down to health. It comes down to age in a way. And it ultimately came down to coaching. Steve Nash, who we talked about yesterday, BT, he was simply out-coached by the Boston Celtics. It felt like there were not enough answers. There were not enough solutions to whatever the defensive strategies Boston was employing. Again, they have the Defensive Player of the Year. They have a great defense. Kyrie Irving was bottled up for much of this game. Durant went off. But at the end of the day, didn't this feel inevitable given how all the chaos that went on around the Brooklyn Nets from the beginning of the season last year till the playoffs, and they get swept out of it?
It's a complete embarrassment is what it is. I mean, it's a colossal underachievement. And people are laughing at the Nets right now.
Yeah.
And people are laughing right now. Now, everything that you just said, I agree with, for sure. Nash, lack of bench, the micro aspects of the game or the series. But for me, Tiki, I got to tell you, it's bigger than that. To me, the problem with the Nets is that their entire organizational philosophy is backwards, all right? You look at the good teams in the NBA, the stable franchises. Golden State, obviously, Milwaukee, Miami, Boston. I'll even throw Toronto in there.
Yep.
Okay, and what do those teams have in common? To me, it's very easy to identify. There is a clear pecking order of authority. And then you've got the Brooklyn Nets, who's their star players, they are stars for sure. I'm not shading their talents. They're incredible. But they're half superstar, half GM, or half superstar, 30% GM, 10% coach, 10% announcer. There's just too many. There's a lack of who's the boss? Yeah. Who's in charge of the Brooklyn Nets? Sean Marks should be embarrassed by those post-game comments.
Well, I mean, maybe. And
Kevin Durant and Kyrie saying, we'll get it right. What are you kidding me?
We'll hear them in a second. But before we get there, I think you have to. Well, first of all, let's give the Boston Celtics some credit because they're
no question, but nobody cares about that here. You're right. The Celtics are good. We picked them to win the series.
So I went to the game last night. I'm sitting there. Great seats. Appreciate Jesse Weinstein hooking us up. Me and my wife.
Nets fan there. Now, I see, huh?
No, not a Nets fan, but I appreciated I appreciated the game. It was honestly, BT. We haven't been to a live sporting event in a long time. Me and Tracy together. I'm trying to think the last
Yankee Stadium opening day.
But I didn't go to the game. So because I had to go down to where did I get? To Virginia. I had to go down to Charlottesville. So I haven't been at a live sporting event in a long time. Mm-hmm. The atmosphere was great. The hospitality was fantastic. I appreciate everybody there. So thank you, Brooklyn Nets, for taking care of me. But I was sitting there, and there was a guy sitting next to me. I didn't really introduce myself to him.
Was it Spike Lee, the mega Nets fan?
No, he was he'd be on the other side.
What was he wearing?
The river.
What kind of jersey was he wearing? Keith Van Horn last night?
He just had
Armin Gilliam?
He had a hat on, and he said something that kind of
Mike Jaminski.
He said something that we said yesterday. He said, you know what? I think the Celtics are just better than us.
There's no question.
And as I'm sitting there, and I'm like, all right, I know Jaylen Brown's good. I know Jason Tatum's good. I mean, Al Horford was knocking down open shots, but it's because he was open. Grant Williams was knocking down three-pointers. I think he had 4 of them because he's standing wide open. And I was thinking about it. I was like, the Brooklyn Nets have 2 of the best players that we've seen in maybe this generation, aside from LeBron and some others that you could talk to. They are top 5 players of this generation, and we're sitting here acknowledging, accepting that the Boston Celtics were just better.
Still the team game.
And that's exactly it, BT. It's because it's a team game. It felt like the Brooklyn Nets didn't have a plan. Mm-hmm. It felt like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were trying to not ISO it, but be the saviors like we used to see LeBron and Kyrie do in Cleveland. You remember back in those days when they would get bad, they'd have bad outings. They just put their head down and, all right, I'm scoring 30, you score 35, we're good. We got this thing handled. They were trying to do that. and it didn't work. And when plan A, that's plan A, doesn't work, you got to have plan B. And it felt like there was no plan B for the Brooklyn Nets yesterday.
I'll tell you what wouldn't be my plan A if I'm running the Brooklyn Nets. I'm not giving Kyrie Irving a 5-year extension. There's no way in hell I'm giving Kyrie Irving 5 years.
But he's so damn good.
I know he is, but he's also so damn unreliable. And not in terms of, I don't mean his play. His commitment to the game. Listen, he's been around, 11 years now? Hoff, do me a favor. I don't have it in front of me.
Has it been that long?
Oh, yeah, it's been 11 years. And think about it. He played 11 games at Duke. I know he got hurt, but didn't play even a full college or a half a college season. And I believe, I just need Hoff to double-check this, of the 11 seasons, he's played more than 60 games, which is still 22 games fewer than the full season, pandemic season aside. I believe only 3 or 4 times. Like, he doesn't play that much. Is he going to suddenly get healthy?
He played 72 games in 2016-17. That was his last year in Cleveland.
Yep.
But you're right. Prior to that, 53.
Yep.
Then he's 60 after the year after. First year in Boston, 67. Second year in Boston, 20.
Yeah,
Obviously, that was shortened. 54. And then 29 this year.
Oh, so Hoff, you said 5 times. So
five times in total. He's played 60 or more games.
So let me ask everybody a question. Again, because, the Nets are they are confounding because Tiki's 100% right. Kevin Durant is the most effortless, best scorer I've ever seen in my life.
No doubt about it.
I think you would co-sign that.
100%.
Okay.
He was injured. You could tell it.
He's banged up.
I saw it, his knee.
Yep.
I couldn't see it with the black tights a couple of nights ago. He had the white tights on today. I've seen that tape job because I had it many times, which is an MCL tape job. It protects your internal capsule from collapsing in. But when it pinches just a little bit, it hurts, man. And you could see it. Right?
So he was compromised.
He's compromised. He missed 20 games already, but I agree with you, BT. Kevin Durant, he scored 39.
He's the least of their problems.
Yes.
I mean, to get on the air and bag on Kevin Durant is the height of dopiness.
No.
Kevin Durant is a transcendent all-time player.
Agreed.
My issue with the Nets is, again, the lack of structure. Like, all right, so Sean Marks is, I guess, the general manager. Is he still that? I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, but,
In title, he is, yes.
In title. But, you see, that doesn't work without a clear pecking order of authority, as I said to start the show. So if Kyrie Irving, who's rarely fully healthy thus far in his career, do we really believe the next 4 or 5 years he will suddenly get healthy? And what he can do once he opts out, and of course he's going to opt out because he's an immense talent. So once he opts out of the $36.9 million player option, and the Nets will obviously, I'm saying I wouldn't do it, but I expect that they will, 5 years, $247. He's going to take it, and then the Nets will be saddled with somebody who is incredibly perplexing. Some nights he's the most tantalizing, most just the aesthetically most beautiful basketball player in the history of the game.
He can give you 50.
And other nights you don't want him anywhere near your franchise.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm not giving him 5 years. It's a death sentence if they do. They'll win nothing.
But he's elite. And I think the circumstances of this year have to be taken into account. It's hard to look at them and acknowledge them because they just got swept out of the first round of the playoffs. Now, again, they were a 7 seed, and that tells you – and by the way, they needed the play-in to be the 7 seed. It just tells you, the plight that they were in. But Kyrie Irving is an elite basketball player. It was almost like you could see him trying to will this team past the Boston Celtics, even if it was just for aesthetic reasons, so they get gentlemanly swept as opposed to just fully swept, right? It just wasn't happening.
Like you leave Majid or gift basket, you're still getting kicked out, but we're going to give you a little gift basket in a limo.
Here's your party gift.
Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, Kyrie, he's a complicated figure, but he's tied with Kevin Durant. You could see it that they're just boys, and I don't think he's going anywhere. And if I
don't either. I'm just saying I wouldn't give it to him.
You could do a lot worse than Kyrie Irving for sure.
But you could also do a lot better with a different team.
We also have to remember. But this year was so weird. I can't discount.
What happened last year?
Last year they were a shot. They were
he got hurt.
But I know. But literally. Let's not forget this.
Kevin Durant, Milwaukee, three-pointer, big toe.
I know. Toe away.
I know.
From beating the eventual NBA champions.
I understand that.
Knocking out the
Bucks.
The Bucks.
Oh, they played great. Bucks. Durant was amazing, but they didn't win. Here we are this year. They get swept out in the first round. I guess what I'm saying is, when do the excuses dry up?
Yeah.
When does the contextualization of their postseason shortcomings end? Do we do this the next 3-4 years? This guy was hurt. The bench was banged up. They don't have the right coach. They don't know. I mean, Did you win or did you lose?
No, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
That's
And
all I'm saying.
They have to be held accountable. They got a bad matchup in round one. The Boston Celtics, as much as I hate to say it, were just better as a team. They may have still had the best. I mean, I don't even know. Like if you did so BT has this strategy. This is how you determine who's going to win a series.
Oh yeah,
take the top.
Well, just quickly, if I'm not sure who's going to win.
Yes, if there's any question mark. If you take the top 5 players from both teams
in the series.
Correct. And you know, no particular order. It's KD, it's Kyrie.
Tatum, Kyrie, those are givens.
And Brown.
Yep. And Jaylen Brown, those are top 4.
And then
Marcus Smart.
And then you ask the question, who's 5?
And that's Marcus Smart.
So 5, 6, and I think probably 7.
Yes.
Go to the Boston Celtics.
Which is why we both picked the Celtics to win.
That's
now,
exactly
it's not fully foolproof. But it served me well over the years, you know. It's a good guidance, a good roadmap.
It definitely did.
All right, Tiki, 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney inside the Town Fair Tire studio. Of course, our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Amazing player. I'm not giving Kyrie 5 years. I would not do it. Maybe you guys disagree. Tiki disagrees a little bit. So we're all over the map with opinions, which is good. Let's get to Will first up in Brooklyn on the fan, Tiki and Tierney. Willie, what's happening?
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for taking my call.
All's good. What you got,
man.
Will?
I'm a Nets fan since 1995, so I've been going through it. Season ticket holder since they've been to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the season ended not the way we wanted it to end. But you have to look at it. KD missed 20 games before he got hurt. They were the number 1 seed in the East. With James Harden, gave up on the team already. Kyrie Irving, part-time player then.
Yep.
When KD was out, he was still part-time player until March. What do you expect from these teams? This team with Nash, everybody's complaining about Nash.
Okay.
Is Steve Kerr a good coach?
Well, then, Will, you shouldn't be surprised that you guys are done.
Yeah, look, I think Steve Kerr is
Steve Kerr a good coach? He went out. He missed 20 games. They had Luke Walton. That dude went undefeated, coaching the same team.
Yeah, but it was you do know that it was Steve Kerr's offense.
He didn't have his stars. What happened? He missed the playoffs
but hold on, Will. Let's look at the Golden State Warriors. Let's not forget that the Warriors, it was all about sharing the ball, creating the best shot available. When the Brooklyn Nets last night and really the entire series here against the Celtics, when they ran up
by a couple of points, 18 points.
Yeah, I agree.
They lost by 18 points in 4 games.
I understand that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Steve Kerr. I mean, I understand this Brooklyn Nets team, but to disparage Steve Kerr simply because he had great players.
Yeah, but when he didn't have his players, he still didn't make the playoffs.
You talking about last year?
The last 2 years, they missed the playoffs.
Okay. Well, they were in the play-in game. Who cares about the Warriors? Talk about the Nets.
I agree.
What are you doing here, Will? I got to get rid of Will. That's a horrible first call to start the show.
Talking about Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is a great coach. I don't care what he's talking about.
Exactly. What are we doing here, man? Chris is up in the Bronx on the fan, Tiki and Tierney. Chris, what's going on?
What's happening, Chris?
BT and Tiki, what's up, boys?
All's
Great to talk to you.
Hey,
Likewise,
Chris.
man.
Hey, I agree with everything you're saying. This is not on KD. He is a tremendous talent, but this loss is colossal for the Nets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 3 years ago, they went all in with these guys. They spent a fortune. They gave up some draft picks. They gave up some youth, and you thought this was the team. And everyone thought within 3 years they'd have at least 1 title, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And 3 years in, they have nothing, and you start to think, wow, he's going to be 34, KD will be next season. Could he, with the Nets, not even win a title in his time?
I mean,
it's very plausible.
Yeah.
I would bet, actually, that they would not.
Yeah. By the way, they've in 3 years, you're talking about the expectation. The expectation was that this team was winning an NBA championship.
Mm-hmm.
And once they got James Harden, forget it. There's no doubt they were winning an NBA championship. They've won 1 playoff series in 3 years, and that was last year.
BT, you're right on the money. It's about how they constructed this team. Let's grab all the superstars we can. Let's let the players pick the coach. And it's all imploding on them. It's like a recipe for what not to do in the NBA.
Well, you know what it is? Here's the thing, Chris, and thanks for the call. And this is not a low-hanging fruit shot at the Nets. Trust me, I wish my team had the talent that the Nets have. This is not a Knicks-Nets thing, but I do believe this is part of the equation when the Nets began to go down this road, this direction that they're currently in, and will probably continue to go down when they extend Kyrie Irving for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Because they are They are not, one of those marquee franchises. I'm not, and I know they do things world class. I don't mean that they're not.
That's not what you're talking about.
That's not what I mean. The history, the aura, all those things you can and cannot quantify. They had to acquiesce on some level to almost every demand of the modern athlete. All right, and when you do that, you are asking for trouble. I don't mean that players shouldn't be empowered. I'm not talking about certainly not social justice or monetarily. If you're a great player, you deserve every penny.
Yeah.
But you have to have a clear delineation who's the boss and who is not. And the warning flare was shot. We kind of laughed at it, but it was shot when Kyrie Irving said, we don't need a coach. We don't have a coach. Although I got news for you. The Spurs with Popovich, they had a coach.
Yes.
Curry, you can say whatever you want about the talent. Coach. Phil Jackson, Bulls, coach. Pat Riley, Lakers, Ed Heat, coach. Spoelstra, coach. Heat. I mean, the great teams have coaches, and they have owners and GMs that are clearly in charge.
Yeah.
The Nets don't.
Yeah, and I think
that is fatal.
And by the way, I think that's changed. So there was a blip, BT, where the player was in charge, and it started with LeBron. LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. It started there. Now Spoelstra was a great coach, but we didn't know it at that time.
True.
Right? When he first went to Miami, but it felt like, man, LeBron and Dwayne Wade, these guys are running. They're running stuff down there. Look, they won a couple championships, and then LeBron comes back to Cleveland. Again, he's basically the coach, right? David Blatt. We don't like you. Let's get Ty Lue in here. Ty Lue, you're going to do what we want to do. We won a championship. We beat the great Golden State Warriors. But that Golden State Warrior team told you that it was flipping back the other way, right? Where coaching mattered, the ball movement mattered, and now you've seen it. The Milwaukee Bucks last year with Coach Bud, right? They have one superstar.
Who's that now, Coach who?
Got number Bud.
Got number Bud
for you.
for you. Coach Bud.
Budenholzer, right? They got one star.
Yep.
And Giannis, one star, right? Maybe you could put Chris Middleton close to but he's not really a star.
He's a periodical all-star.
Coaching.
Yes.
And it's flipped
and
that
structure.
way. And you see this
and
now.
Role allocation.
Exactly. You see this with the Boston Celtics, right? It's coaching. Yes, they got some good players.
No doubt.
I mean, Jason Tatum's a great player. Jaylen Brown's a really good player. I mean, maybe he's not top 10, but whatever. He's a great player for this system, right? The coaching matters, and it flipped. Right? It was for a second, it was player empowerment. Players can coach. We don't just roll the ball out there. They'll figure it out. It's flipped back, man. And you see it everywhere. It's why the Pelicans are about to knock out the Suns. Now Devin Booker's out, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's like teams that are inferior can win talent-wise when the coaching is superior.
877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the fans. So we're going to run with the Nets for a little bit and what their future, not so much about the game. I mean, the game's over, but really moving forward. You've heard what we've laid out. What do you guys think about that? I got to tell you, I was watching Trevor May pitch live, and he was awful. The fact that the Mets came back and won that game, that was a tremendous win by the Mets. So we'll get to that as well. Tiki and Tierney just getting going. Got Yankee tickets for you, 12:20, right here on The Fan.